Welcome to the Instagram Stories podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Here's how this works. I spend about 20 minutes with someone who is an expert in the field of social media or content creation. They might be social media marketers. They might be brand experts. They might be influencers. I get them to come on the show and spill all their secrets, all their strategy, their expertise in just about 20 minutes. Could the interviews be longer? Of course, but who wants to listen to a really long interview? You have places to go, you have things to do. You might only be in the car for a short amount of time, and I want you to get the maximum information you can in that very short window. If you like this kind of content, I host a show similarly named. It's called the Instagram Stories, and I spend about 8 to 10 minutes 3 times per week giving social media news on a variety of platforms, including Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and some other lesser interesting platforms occasionally, not so often. For instance, I recently shared a clip from the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, talking about some of the new updates that Instagram is rolling out for the DM inbox. There's a lot of areas where the DM inbox on Instagram is a not great experience, so it's nice to see the Instagram team working so hard to make the whole thing better. Here's a clip from the head of Instagram talking about the updates that the team has made to the DM inbox and how it can help you.
Some new improvements for DMs for creators. Now, when you go to the requests inbox, sometimes it can be really overwhelming. And I've heard this a lot from creators I've talked to around the world. So what we've done is added ways to filter down those requests to just see the ones that you're looking for. You can now look for just requests from other creators, from businesses, from accounts you follow, from accounts that follow you, all sorts of ways to make sure you don't miss anything that's important to you. We've also added at the top of the inbox the ability to just look at all of your story replies in case you just want to get to those requests really quickly and easily. Now, there's a lot more to do to improve the inbox for creators and requests, but hopefully this is one step in the right direction. Let me know down below in the comments what other improvements you'd like us to see for DMs if you're a creator out there. See y'all soon.
If you like that kind of content, check out my show, The Instagram Stories, wherever you get podcasts. I will link to it in the show notes so that you can get there directly. Today on the show, I'm spending time with Corey Walker. Corey Walker is the 5-time best-selling co-author of Instagram for Dummies and Instagram for Business for Dummies. She's also a social media marketing agency owner in California, and she works with service-based businesses to get more leads and sales through social media and email marketing. She helps businesses get over the hump of posting on social, whether they're dealing with fear of posting, not having enough time or energy, and she shares strategies to get businesses on the right track of posting regularly. Additionally, she has a new Instagram for Dummies book coming out in just a couple of days. I will link to how you can get that in the show notes. And if you listen to the end of the episode, there's a surprise for you. So here's the interview with Corey. Today on the show, we have Corey Walker. Corey, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Corey, for people who might not be familiar with you, can you tell us who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. So I'm Corey Walker. I am the co-author of Instagram for Dummies and Instagram for Business for Dummies. And I'm also a social media strategy consultant and agency owner in El Dorado Hills, California.
That's a lot. I'm excited that you're here because we're going to be talking about your upcoming book. If you're not familiar, Corey has written 4 Instagram for Dummies books. The 5th is coming out in December, right when this episode releases. How did you get started doing that, writing and working with the For Dummies brand?
Yeah, so I have a friend, my co-author, Eric Butow, and he had written several books under the For Dummies brand, and they were looking to do, initially we did the Instagram for Business for Dummies, was the first one that they wanted to do. And he knows how to write Dummies books. There's kind of a templated style and voice, but he needed an expert on Instagram. So he knew that I had already been using it for my business and for my clients. And so he reached out and asked if I would like to be a co-author as the subject matter expert. So we started on the first one, and we brought on Jen Herman as well. So we had a great partnership of the three of us. And so that one started, and then that was successful. And so then they brought on Instagram for Dummies, which is less business focused, and it's just for anybody that wants to use Instagram for personal reasons. And so now we're on the third edition, is the one that's coming out next month, or by the time this airs this month. The third edition of Instagram for Business for Dummies. And then we have 2 editions of Instagram for Dummies out. So it just, as Instagram changes, we have to update the books, and it changes literally as we're writing. So it's constantly changing.
I'm glad you brought up all the changes that happen with the platform. And there are so many. Why should a business start using Instagram if they haven't up until this point?
Well, what I love about Instagram is that almost every audience that you could think of is on Instagram. So, for instance, Facebook has really aged up. So if you're trying to, get somebody that's in their 20s or 30s, they might not be on Facebook anymore. If you're trying to reach someone that's, 60s and up, they're not necessarily going to be on TikTok. But Instagram is kind of the great middle. So, I have 2 daughters, a 16 and a 20-year-old, and they are both on Instagram. Wouldn't touch Facebook with the 10-foot pole. And then my dad, who's in his 80s, is also on Instagram. So it really reaches a wide audience. And there's different parts of Instagram that attract different people. So, for instance, some people might only like to watch things in the feed. Other people might be really tuned into lives. So you just kind of have to really know your target audience and what they like to, like how they like to view things and where they like to view things. And I think Instagram has it all, basically.
Yeah, I agree with that. You are working on, I know, the Instagram for Business for Dummies side of things. If someone has a business, they might really be struggling to find the time to create content, to post it. How do you recommend people think about that? I know you create a lot of content, so you're posting frequently. What's the best way to sort of handle that dichotomy between creating your business, running your business, and making that content?
Yeah, what I like to tell people is if they stand back and do some planning, maybe it's once a month in the beginning of the month, you're going to plan out your month. And when I work with small business owners, we usually develop content pillars. And that is the 3 to 5 things that you're going to talk about consistently. And so once you have these content pillars, it makes it a lot easier to come up with the content that you're going to share. If you can sit down once a month and say, okay, I'm going to talk about, these 12 things, and plan out some of those posts. And it doesn't even have to be fully, created, but just spend a day, not even a day, just, a couple hours planning that. And then maybe have one other content creation day where you're filming some reels, putting those together. That is what breeds consistency, because what I see a lot of people do, and trust me, I fall into this trap myself. I'm not always perfect about, sitting back and planning out, but things go much better when you do. But what I find a lot of people doing is they're busy running their business, and it's the end of the day and they're like, oh, I didn't post anything. What am I going to post? What am I going to post? What am I going to post? And then they throw some random thing out there that has nothing to do with anything. And then their social media is not consistent, and it's probably not sharing the messaging that they would have had they planned it out and had some kind of campaign or some kind of follow through. A lot of the times I just see people throwing up something random because they feel like they should be active that day. So that's how we do it, just really taking a step back and taking a day or two to plan things out, and then you can kind of set it and just check in on your messages in the morning, and it's a lot less hectic.
That's a great strategy. what are some things that a business should avoid doing on social media?
Not planning. No, but yeah, not having any regard for who your target audience is. I see a lot of business owners that talk just about the features of whatever their product or service is. But what you really need to look at is the acronym WIFM, what's in it for me. And when I say me, I'm talking about the customer. So anytime a customer is online and they're looking at things, they're looking at it through the lens of how does this benefit me? And so if you put yourself into those shoes and say, well, what's the ultimate goal of my product or service? That's the best way to do it. And so what not to do is not considering your target audience and not considering what is in it for them. I see a lot of that. I also see a lot of people still sharing like stock photos and just really boring stuff where I think, okay, who's attracted to this? Who are you trying to get to like this stock photo? It's yeah. So I still see people doing that. The other thing is not integrating any kind of video in your strategy. It's I know a lot of people don't like doing video. They feel self-conscious or whatever it is, but video and short form content like that it's here to stay. And so yeah, so they really need to incorporate some of that. Um, and using some carousels is also helpful.
Those are all absolutely the correct way to think about it. I know since you just mentioned Reels, TikTok is a big part of, our modern lives. YouTube Shorts, similar, now expanding past 60 seconds. How should businesses think about Reels versus TikToks versus YouTube Shorts?
I mean, it all goes back to audience. So you can make, if you want to be on all of those platforms, you could make any of those outside of the platform and share them on all of them. But what I tell people is really know where your audience is. If they're on TikTok, go full on TikTok and do that. So yeah, taking a step back, seeing where you want to spend your time, because it's hard to spend your time effectively on, 5 different platforms, and then create your videos for your target audience on that platform. There are plenty of people that put the same thing on TikTok and they put it on Reels, and that's fine. Just make sure if you're doing that, if you're creating it through TikTok, that you don't put the TikTok logo on Instagram, because Instagram does not like that. And they have actually said that they will downgrade your video if they see that TikTok logo on there. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think your own logo, right, would be okay if that was part of the video, but obviously the TikTok logo would not be something that Instagram would want to reward seeing.
Yes,
I think it still sneaks through every once in a while, but for
it
the most
does.
part,
It
that
does.
is
Yeah.
absolutely something you want to make sure that you avoid. What would you say are some of the trends that you've seen recently, and what sort of trends do you think will carry over into 2025?
Um, well, I think that we're still going to see, um, in terms of what type of content, we're still going to see lots of reels. And as I mentioned before, carousels are going to be more and more popular. I love carousels, and I love it for some of my clients that don't love being on Reels as much. And I think your audience, you talk about Instagram a lot, so they probably know what carousels are. But if they don't, carousels are those posts where you can have now up to 20 different slides or videos within there. And I like to tell people to use them to either tell a story, so you get people scrolling through till the end, or use it for 5 tips for A, B, and C. Anything that lends itself to people wanting to go through until the end. So those are 2 of the things. I think a big push now also is more and more authenticity. So for years, we had Instagram being this curated, pretty place where we had flat lays and you'd go to someone's profile and it all matched and looked beautiful. And I think with the rise of video, we're seeing that go out the window. So just more and more people being authentic. And I think we'll also see more people using the tools within the platform. Instagram has been rolling out tons of new video editing things within. They also now you can edit regular posts. So if you put a photo up there, there's now editing tools for that right in the app. And for one thing, Instagram likes it when you use all of their tools. So they automatically usually favor those videos and posts that use their tools. But I think people are also getting a little turned off by some of those some of those posts that they're created in CapCut. You see all the fancy captioning and you see clips going in. I think people are getting tired of that and they automatically see it as a marketing message. I think more people are liking just hearing directly from a person and getting their point of view. If it's for a product, having a customer talk about it and talk about how it changed their life. Using some more of those micro influencers instead of hitting up, Kim Kardashian to talk about a shake that, who knows if she's actually using it. So I definitely think more authenticity is going to be a big trend throughout 2025.
Yeah, I agree. Do you see Threads being part of that as well? Like, how have you been using Threads, or have you been on there? I know you have because I've seen your posts
Yeah.
over there. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Sure. Yeah, I've been enjoying Threads, and I use it a little bit more willy-nilly, which I kind of like having a place to do that, because Instagram, I really try to stick to my brand on Instagram, and I will share personal things, but Threads, I've been sharing a lot more different things. But yeah, I think Threads is a little bit more authentic. I feel more comfortable sharing, that I made potato soup last week and some of those things. And people like that. The posts that I get the most likes on are the ones that are just personal, quirky things about my life. So I do see that now. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which side of the coin you're on, I just saw this morning that Threads is going to start incorporating ads in there. So we
I
knew
saw
it
that
was,
as well.
yeah, we knew it was coming. They can't just have a free thing out there because they got to pay the bills. But what I've really enjoyed about Threads is that it's just pure content and I don't have to weed through a lot of ads for things. So that's going to change. I don't know when they're going to start it, but it's coming.
Yeah, I think it's January was what I saw. And I think this is a great opportunity to talk about how, just like with Twitter, we switched to using it in the browser, right? We were using it in the app. We use it in the browser. We use the browser plugin to block the ads. You block Origin, whatever else you use. And that's going to really help to eliminate that, because personally, I love the ad-free experience of Threads. I don't want it to change. Obviously, I know there are costs involved and so forth, but let's try to keep this experience as pure as possible. We see enough ads throughout our daily lives. It's enough. I want to talk briefly, because I know you don't just write books, but you also work with businesses.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you work with businesses, what you do to help them, and what are kind of the strategies that you use to help them?
Absolutely. So, yeah, I really love working with service-based providers. So I work with people like healthcare providers that might have a side business, or I work with authors. I work a lot with healthcare. I just kind of fell into it. And then restaurant owners to also talk about their businesses. But what I do is a little bit what I talked about before. So I will come up with a strategy for them. We'll identify who their target audience is. We'll look at what their pain points are so we can really talk about how their service is going to benefit them, going back to the what's in it for me type stuff. And then we will come up with a content calendar. We'll talk about, some ideas for some reels, some other content, and then I'll also have them work through what I like to call the Instagram funnel. And that is, so I always put my hands up like this when I talk about it, but so you have your reels up at the top. And so that's going to attract people in that aren't necessarily your followers because they'll show reels to people outside your following. And then we have them go down the funnel to your main, your other posts, carousels, regular graphics. And then we have them go over to Instagram stories where they talk a lot more about their personal life, their day to day, behind the scenes. So we up that know, like, and trust factor. And then if they have a product that they're trying to sell, I'll have them go through, or a service really, but I'll have them do some Instagram lives where they talk, openly to an audience and hopefully get that feedback and those questions from their audience and sell their service through the lives. So those are, just some of the things that I do to help those service-based providers use Instagram.
I love that. If you can, please tell us where we can follow you online for your journey. I know your book is coming up, and what other things we can look forward to you creating in the near future.
Sure. So my website is themarketingspecialist.com. And then I'm on Instagram as at Corey C. Walker. So I think you'll have that in the show notes. I don't know.
Of course.
Yeah. So the link to my Instagram will be in the show notes. I'm also at that same username on Threads, obviously. I'm also on LinkedIn as Corey Walker. And let's see, the next edition of Instagram for Business for Dummies comes out December 5th. You can find it on Amazon. I also have a fun little freebie, and I will provide the link for that. And it's called Social Sprint, 5 Days to More Clients. And it's a really easy self-paced 5-day email course that goes through some of the things that I just talked about. The first day, you'll identify your target audience. Next one, you'll talk more about pain points. And it goes through kind of like a mini strategy session to get more clients through social media. And that's completely free. So I will send you that link.
I will link to everything you mentioned in the show notes, including how to get the next edition of Instagram for Business for Dummies. And to say thank you for listening all this way to the end of the show, we will be giving away 5 copies of Instagram for Business for Dummies, 3rd edition. Send me a DM at Daniel Hill Media with your name and address, and I will ensure that you get a copy of the book. So please send me a DM at Daniel Hill Media. Corey, this has been so great having you on. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was great talking to you.
Okay, that's it for my interview with Corey. Hopefully you found that content helpful. And if you would like to get a copy of her new book, Instagram for Dummies, send me a direct message at Daniel Hill Media with all your information, and we will arrange that. If you like this kind of content, please check out my other show, The Instagram Stories, for more news-based content. You can find it wherever you get podcasts, and you can find links to everything Corey and I discussed in the show notes. If you enjoy this show, if you could please do me a favor, go on Apple Podcasts and leave a review of the show. Any feedback is good, but if it's feedback where you really enjoy the show, that's best. If you have a comment like, Daniel, your audio needs work, just send me that privately. You can direct message me at Daniel Hill Media. Again, for links for everything we talked about, check out the show notes, and you can even find a link to leave a review on Apple Podcasts in the show notes as well. Thanks so much for listening.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager, but do not have a bachelor's degree. But actually, that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in the work, without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish, unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no risk that, there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.
Now, Corey, I know that you volunteer with animals, right? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So on the weekends, my daughter and I volunteer at a cat shelter, and it's all outside. They have these little barn structures and things. And really, our main job is to go and socialize with the cats, which means pet them, talk to them. And the main goal is to make these cats that were, coming from different situations, whether it was a hoarding situation or maybe their owner passed away, and getting them from that kind of frightened, freaked out phase to getting used to new people again so that they can then get adopted by a new family.
That's so nice. I think a lot of times we're very excited for kittens, right? Because they're adorable and everything, but older cats need to be rehomed, have different situations as well. So I think that's really nice that you do that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fun. I love it.